Welcome back to Tips for SWPs. This is Jonah Sonner with WGR, and here we're going to be talking about SWP maps, what they are and how you can make them. So first let's look at the general permit to see really why this is required. And you can see here in section 10 that says that discharger shall develop and implement a site-specific SWP for each industrial facility covered by this general permit that shall contain the following elements. And you see under part 2 here is listed a site map. And if we scroll down to part E, we'll see a bunch of the requirements that you can read on your own time. But basically it's saying that you need to have notes, legends, and north arrow, and just data to make sure that the map is clear, legible, and understandable. So we're going to be talking about a couple of these things, but first let's show you kind of the process that I go through when I'm making a map. So the first thing I do is I go to Google Earth. This is a free tool. You can download it off of the internet. Just search for Google Earth and it'll show up. So the first thing we're going to want to do is search for our facility, and we're going to be using our office today as an example. I'm just going to type in the address here real quick, and it'll take me right there. Okay, now that we have our facility, and I like to make sure that nothing is checked on my SWP maps because, you know, you can have like the yellow lines or the street names and stuff, and that's all well and good, but for our purposes right now, we don't want to have anything. We just want to have the satellite image. So once you're zoomed into where you think it's good, then what you can do is you can go up to Edit here, and you can do Copy Image. And what that does is it takes a screen cap of this whole satellite image here. And for me, I enjoy making SWP maps in Microsoft Word. And you just take your copied image and you can just paste it in just like that. But you see I already have a map in here already that I'm going to use. And right now what we're going to be doing is I'm going to just walk you through on how I like to make a SWP map and just kind of the way I design my maps. And so first of all, I always come over to here to the color, and I change it to black and white. Let's see if I can remember where that is. Here we go. So for me, this just makes it a little bit easier because I like to use a lot of colors in my maps, and I don't want to have everything be confusing and like, is this a color of the background image? Is this part of, you know, his document? What is this? So I just have it black and white, and then I use as many colors as I want, and it all fits well together. So here we have our Google Earth image, and one of the first things that I do is I just go through and I make a perimeter for my facility. So I take a blank shape and I just edit it to have just a line. I put no fill on it, and then I put probably about a 2.5 point line. And I usually make a red perimeter. So I go into here and edit points, and basically I will just make a perimeter for our facility, and we'll just fast forward through all this and come back when this is over. Okay, now once you have your facility perimeter put in, then let's go through and add the facility entrances. And you can pick whatever shapes you want, but I'm just going to make my own shapes for this. I'll just take a little box right here, and I'll put a texture in it. Let's see, like that. I'll make it orange. So there, now I have one entrance there, and I'll just copy that and move it up here, shape it in for this entrance. Okay, the next thing we want to add is the facility parking, or the employee parking areas. And so we just want to take another shape for that. We'll just mark it like this. See, let's get another color here. Let's do purple. Okay. So this is one facility parking area, and then we'll make the other one down here. Alright, now that we have our parking areas, and you can see people park along here, but we're not going to call those out. Another thing that we're going to have to add is where your trash or where your waste bins are stored. So for us, we don't have a regular trash can on site, but we do have a little dump trailer. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a shape calling that out. And again, use whatever shape you want to do with the colors and whatnot. And so the next thing we want to do is we want to call out the actual areas of industrial activity. So for me, I like using yellow for buildings. So I'm going to make this color here. Oops. Like that. And then I always do like a transparent so you can kind of see what it's covering. And I'll just make this one down here. It's the same. Whoops. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to put in some text boxes to call out what these things are. And I always do just blank text boxes, and I just put my text in. I like using Arial Narrow for my font. Just makes it a little bit easier to squeeze in there. I use size 10 as well. So this is going to be the offices. And I'll make this the way I like it. Oops. I'll make this a little bit bigger actually. Okay, so we have the offices, then we're going to have our warehouse. Let's see, I can edit this text a little bit better. Okay. So then the other thing we're going to want to talk about is where your drain outlets are. And that also kind of corresponds with your drainage zones and the surface flow. So one of the requirements of the general permit is to show your permeable areas and your impermeable areas. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make a blanket shape covering the impermeable areas. And so I'll just skip through this part here, and we'll come back when that's done. And also I'm going to call out that we have vegetative buffers here. Okay, so there's some basic callouts. So this is going to be my non-permeable area. This is a vegetative area. These are employee parking areas, and again, this is the covered buildings. So we're going to make a legend for all of these things so that you know what's what on your SWP map. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But we're going to mark up the permeable area right now in brown. Okay, so here we have our facility. The entrances, covered buildings, parking areas, permeable area, paved area, and then the vegetated areas. So now let's add the drain inlets. Just use a circle for these. Make a nice little circle there. Get it nice and round. Not all funky. Doesn't have to be the exact size. So there we have 2 outfalls. Now for our surface flow, we're just going to have a couple of arrows showing pretty much just how the facility drains its water. So I'm going to use some bright blue here. Like a neon blue to stand out. Actually, I'm going to change this color to like a bluish gray. That's good. Okay, so basically on our side, water will pretty much just flow like this. Just going to make a couple of nice little arrows here. Yeah, just copy them. And then in this area, everything kind of permeates, but it will gently slope to the drain inlet. But I'll just make a note here saying that most of the water in this site, if I can deselect that, most of the water in this site will just permeate into the ground. Okay, so I'll make a note of this right here. Okay, then I'm going to take an arrow, just show that it's leading here, and make it black. Just like that. Okay. So even though it's not shown on this picture, we keep a tractor in this area. I'm just going to show that. Actually, I probably shouldn't use that color. There. And I'm going to call this equipment storage. And this is bermed and covered. Actually, vehicle storage area with spill kits. And then use whatever shape you want to use for a spill kit. I'm going to use a little triangle here. It's a little blue triangle. So we got a spill kit in that area. It's covered with plastic. We also have a rattle trap here. And the main idea of this is you want to call out the BMPs that you have on your site and the equipment storage areas, spill kits, your covered buildings, your covered areas, your employee parking, your perimeters, any vegetated areas that you have, facility entrances and exits, and the permeable areas and impermeable areas, as well as drain inlets and such, surface flow, and also municipal drains. Now on here we don't really have any municipal drains on this site, but just be aware of that, and that's going to just be your regular city drains that are in the sidewalk or the gutter, and just want to look out for those. Okay, so this is just a quick and dirty map pretty much, but you can take some time and shape it up on yours, just make it look really nice. So we're going to call this out what this is. Okay. I don't know why I keep losing an arrow over here, but it keeps disappearing on me for whatever reason. Okay. So now let's talk about the surface flow. It'll generally kind of flow down this way. And from the employee parking area, kind of just go out. And then all the stormwater will pretty much just impound out here. There's a little drain that it all goes to. So this is going to be a catch basin right here. I'll call it out as such. And then what I'm going to say here is that the stormwater in this area will impound and permeate into the ground. So all the water will flow down into this area and then kind of collect and pool up in this little area in the entrance, and then ultimately just impound and infiltrate into the into this catch basin. Okay, let's talk about drainage zones really quick. So for each outfall that you are required to show what area of stormwater flows to that outfall. What I'm going to do now, I just need to finish up my surface flow area arrows, and then I will call it out as such. So there's kind of like a little dividing line here, and it's different for each facility, but this is generally how the water will flow, and it will flow down this way. Yeah. So it'll kind of follow this line, and it'll all generally flow into this drain. So this down here is going to be one drainage zone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this shape. Just going to duplicate it, put it right here, send it to the back. Actually, I'm going to shape it up a little bit first. I'm going to change the color to show it's a different area. Just make it a little bit more transparent too. And then send this to the back. Send this backwards. So my shape comes back. Send this back again. Just like that. So now I have 3 drainage zones all properly listed. And I'm going to make little notes of that real quick. Okay, so now we have our covered areas. Let me call it out as such. All right. And I think we're about wrapping up here. So now what we want to do is we want to add a legend. And I have one. Actually, no, I'll just go ahead and show you guys how to make one. So we're just going to take a text box, put it up to the side here. And then at the top, we're going to have center text. This is going to be a legend. Underline that. And then what I do is I just copy shapes, put them in here, and then make more text boxes describing what that is. And for these text boxes, I do no fill, no line. Arial narrow again. And you get the general idea of that. So we're going to have the legend, but just for the sake of time, let's talk about the other things. So the next thing we want to add is a scale. So we'll go back to Google Earth if you still have it open. And one handy tool you can see up here is the ruler. So you take that, and then you just want to measure something. And basically what I do is I go and try and find something that's 100 feet, but this will work. It's 54 feet, that's close enough. So I will go back to my SWP. And the way you can make these is just taking a basic shape, just make it white fill with a black line, and then make go about halfway and make little black boxes in there, but I already have one pre-made that I'm just going to copy over. And it'll look something like this. So right here, I just line it up to my building, and then I move it out to the way I want it. So that's my size scale. I'm going to make a little line here. This is going to be the first point. That's really crooked. Let's see if we can make a better one. There we go. Make this black. Duplicate that. Okay, now we're just going to make some tiny little text boxes to go with it. So we'll just verify. Yep, 50 feet. So that's perfect. We'll just leave this right about here. And then I always like to add the logo of whoever I'm working for and our own logo. So since it's just our facility, we'll just put our logo right here. Doesn't have to be that big, but hey. And now the last thing we want to add are north arrow. You can just take a basic arrow like this. Make it whatever color you want. I like a red arrow. just real basic. And then you can take a text box, put it on top. Again, no fill, no line. Just put the letter N inside, and then shoot the font up to about 48, we'll call it. Change the font color to match your arrow color. And then you can even change the font if you really want to. Like have it something real classy. Let's see. Here we go. I like this. Center it. And there you have a north arrow. You can group these two things together. And there you have it. I'll show you the one I normally use. See, it's a little different. You can make it however you like, add 3D shapes, whatever. This is just a basic north arrow. You can change it to black if you want. But there you go. And then you have your scale, you have your company logo. You have all the notes on your page, so you say that this is the permeable area, and you just add, if you don't want to put it out in a text box, just put it out in the legend, like have this shape color in here saying this is your permeable area, this is your paved area, this is your vegetated area, so on and so forth. You'll also, a couple other things you'll want to call out are all the locations of spill kits, your truck loading areas, your equipment refueling areas, drainage basins, retention ponds, water bodies that are on site, or creeks that go through your property, stuff like that. You want to call that out and say what that is. And then equipment storage and handling areas, where you store your product, where you do most of your industrial activities, what industrial activities takes on in certain buildings, and so on and so forth. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Here you can see we have our SWP map. Everything's pretty much called out. Again, this has been Jonah Sonner with Tips for SWPs. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.